Testing, testing. The cat is on the mat. I'm Anthony.
I'm Damon.
I'm David.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Dr. Kurt's dad.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Jim.
Welcome to issue number 147 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club podcast. Each and every week, we meet here to talk about comics. We have a great show for you this week. We're going to have a club discussion after we get that phone call. We're going to have a club discussion for Three Jokers, issue number 1. Then we're going to jump into the weekly reviews. We're going to go all around the internet here, talk about the books that we've been reading, both new and old. And then in this week's letters page, because it's the first Saturday of a brand new month, it's another round for Jacob's birthday battles, and he paired up Vampirella versus Buffy Summers. So we're going to cover all of that in this week's episode. But first, club discussion on Three Jokers, because we have Three Jokers here at our club. So we decided, let's talk about the book that is based off of us. So here is the synopsis. 30 years after Batman the Killing Joke changed comics forever, Three Jokers re-examines the myth of who or what the Joker is and what is at the heart of the eternal battle with Batman. Then a bunch of credits, blah, 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 and that's about it. So that is the setup for this Three Jokers issue, which I think was supposed to come out. Wasn't it supposed to come out like a long time ago? Not just because of COVID, but years ago? Anyone know?
I don't recall. I know that it was set up years ago in the Justice League during what was the run was called the Dark Side War. Near the end of that, Batman was sitting on the Mobius chair.
Yeah.
And before he was able to give it up, he asked one question, who is the Joker? And was given the answer, there have been three of them, or there are three of them.
So yeah, maybe
And
that
run was written by Jeff Johns, who
Johns.
writes this.
Yeah, so maybe that was it, is the fact that it was something that was long awaited or long teased, long anticipated. And we obviously know about, Doomsday Clock and the delays in that. So here we are, though, with Batman Three Jokers from Jeff Johns, Jason Fabok, and Brad Anderson. But first, I want to take this discussion and pass it over to Jim to talk about it. Jim?
All right, Joker. Thank you very much.
Now there's four.
This issue starts with Batman kind of distraught because his parents' graves have been tampered with. He returns to the cave and is being cared for by Alfred when we find a newscast saying the Joker is attacking in 3 different places. And it's like, how can the Joker, everybody's wondering, how can the Joker be attacking, all these places at once? And it opens up and it shows 3 of the attacks from the past. And they introduce them by the different names. The criminal who was involved with the attack on Batman's parents, apparently. The comedian who was the one responsible for the shooting of Barbara Gordon. And then the clown, who is kind of the one who's led the gang of the pranksters and done some of the things like the poisoning the fish, who end up with the fish with the clown faces and that kind of thing. So over time, there have been at least 3 different versions of the Joker active in Gotham City. And now Batman, Batgirl, Red Hood, and the police are all looking for what's going on right now.
Yeah, one thing I really dug was right in the opening, you see a wounded Batman struggling to make it back to the Batcave and knocks over the gravestones of his parents. But as Alfred is kind of stitching him back together, there's a whole montage going through, no word balloons here for a couple pages, of Batman basically just getting pictures of his body and all of the damages going on, and it would cut to showing how he got that. So it would show, from the Joker did this and Riddler did that, and all of the different wounds. And but yeah, I thought that was just kind of a really cool way. And then it was a perfect segue for them to do yet another version of the crime alley scene and the pearl dropping and stuff. So we did get that little origin. They didn't spend too much time with it, but it worked pretty good with the concept of the story and him just kind of, going through these past wounds of his. So.
Now, do we have an indication here, like at what point in continuity this is set? Because I'm assuming this is in continuity. Of course, these days everything's in continuity. But
this is Black Label book. I'll throw that out there.
Okay. Black Label, but my understanding was that this was supposed to, because the idea of the three Jokers was something that is in regular continuity. So I guess I had made the assumption that this also, Black Label or not, is supposed to be, a canon story.
As far as costuming, this is not the current Batgirl costume that's being used. And also, apparently, Alfred is alive.
That's why I asked. You mentioned that he's being taken care of by Alfred, and so it's obviously either it is something that takes place set back a little bit, or set in the future after they decide to finally bring Alfred back,
or a little bit in the past, maybe at the time that right after the Justice League issue where the concept of the three Jokers was brought in. I'd have to go back and look to confirm the Batgirl costume, but I think that might be appropriate to that time. And also, Batman's wearing a big orange shield, which has not been around for a while. Let's find a copy of it.
Yeah, and as you find that here, Damon, you read this one as well. Any thoughts on this first issue?
I thought it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the montage. I mean, you see all the big classic fights, like the breaking of the back, and all the big fights like you were talking about. And hey, anytime you can see a giant shark with a Joker smile on it, devour a homicidal midget, I'm all in. That's a good time. The only problem that I had with this is they even show images of the comedian Joker, and he's dressed and looking exactly like, the Killing Joke. And they even show the bullet wound to Barbara Gordon. And, in the Killing Joke, she was paralyzed. How is she up walking around and is still Batgirl?
Well, even in regular continuity, they have said that that's happened, but that she's was able to get rehabilitated and get the ability back to walk, which does happen with some people who are paralyzed. Before they did the New 52, I think it was something where we were just never going to see Barbara Gordon walking again. The Oracle, her as Oracle, was too popular and too important to DC. But once they went back and did the New 52, then they brought her back, being able to walk. But even then, they kind of did that condensed timeline of like 5 years or whatever, and said within this time period, she had been shot, paralyzed, and then got the use of her legs back and was able to resume her career as Batgirl.
She was treated with nanites in her spine that were able to rejuvenate it. So,
well, that's cool. Other than that, I thought everything else was great. The idea of the three Jokers and trying to find out who they are and everything. The ending was kind of satisfying for me. I'm not going to give it away, but if you read it, you know what happens at the end, because it's something that never happens in the Batman books, and at least nothing that I've seen. And so that was kind of satisfying for me, and I'm actually anxious to see what happens in the next issue.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty.
Although it is
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that is a issue that exists between Batman and that character, though, that he will do that.
How many issues are there in this series?
I believe it is only 3. I don't have it in front of me, but
Okay.
I heard it was only going to be 3 as well.
Yeah, I think 3 as well. The one cool thing, I just like the overall like design of the book, and then on the back you've got this single playing card here. And I figured, because the Joker is often into jokes and tricks, I thought that it would be, maybe worthy to kind of show a joke to you guys. So I'm gonna lift this card off of the back of this book. Whoa! I'm gonna put it back here. See it? Look.
Oh, it's like magic.
You want to see a magic trick? But yeah, I thought it was great.
yeah, I've been waiting for this ever since that run of the Justice League where it was revealed that there are 3 Jokers. Well, you can't say that and not ever explain it.
So this explains that there is actually and has been 3 Jokers running around.
They actually show all 3 Jokers in one panel at the same time.
So they're aware of each other. Are they?
Or one page, anyway.
Are
Yes.
they in cahoots? Are they working together? Are they,
Competitors?
Yeah.
We don't know the exact relationship between them, but one of them does seem to be in charge, and the other 2 are, at least for the time being, following him. As to why that one is in charge, we don't know. If he's the first or he's just one that's taken over. But like I said, you do get to see all 3 of them in a single panel.
All right. Yeah, if there's nothing else to add, then we can close this out. Any final thoughts from anyone? All right.
Well,
That-
I may have to
without
pick it
spoiling
up
too
based
much.
on your recommendation.
Good.
Oh, the smiling shark has got something you got to see, though.
Yeah, that was pretty good. All right. Well, that should do it for our club discussion for the first issue of 3 for Batman 3 Jokers. Stay tuned for the weekly reviews. All right. Audio saved. All this fun behind-the-scenes stuff for our generous YouTube audience. Our millions upon millions of fans. Right,
All
Dave?
across the world, yes.
A million likes, I think you just got on the one you posted today already. Doesn't take that long. Okay.
I wore out my thumb hitting that refresh button every.
So that was you. Okay, here we go. Cue up the next book right away. All right. Recording. And here we go. Welcome to the weekly reviews, everybody. I'm going to kick it off here with a brand new title, I think a limited 4-issue series. This is from IDW, Voyage to the Stars. The year is 2263, and the Earth is, well, it's been better. But if the entire universe is going to be saved from Earth's fate, it'll be up to a crew of misfits who, all things considered, probably aren't qualified to save an important text document, let alone the galaxy. What could go wrong? The smash hit podcast Voyage to the Stars comes to comics in this highly collectible series we're pretty sure is going to be nominated for all awards if the award awarders know what's good for them. Okay, so has anyone heard of the podcast Voyage to the Stars? All right, I didn't think so. All right, so
We got one. Damien,
Oh,
I did.
or I mean Kirby. Kirby's seen it.
oh, okay.
I listened to all the episodes.
Yeah, so this is a podcast, a sci-fi improv comedy podcast. I found out through it because of Felicia Day is one of the stars. You know her from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, The Guild, Dr. Horrible, Supernatural. You have Colton Dunn from Superstore. You got Janet Varney, who was from, I think, Stan versus Evil, comedian. I know her from the comedian world. But
She
yeah,
was big on the Thrilling Adventure Hour too, and she's also the voice of Cora on Legends of Korra.
Katie, it sounds like the Daleks got you.
Yeah, they did. This is my true form.
we can't see the video, but she is probably doing the robot, right?
Exterminate.
So yeah, if you don't know about this podcast, which you can listen to free on iTunes after you've listened to all of our episodes at least 20 times each, this is actually a good jump on point. You don't have to know a podcast exists. It just jumps right into the adventure. You definitely get more of the character backstory if you listen to the podcast, but these characters are pretty fun that I don't think you're really yearning for that until after the fact. So if you just read this for the first time, I think you'll be fine. But it starts off with an adventure of these misfit characters in space, and they're just kind of in this giant action scene in which they're kind of they're in this giant like mech robot, and they're being chased by this giant like space jackrabbit thing that's going on, and it's just like this big crazy chase scene at the opening. And I will say that this here issue is for mature readers, because there are some things in here for comedy purposes that are pretty out there, but this definitely isn't a kid-friendly book when it comes to some of the images and themes. I just had to throw that out there. But yeah, it's kind of fun, and this all is kind of revolving around them finding a package, something that is, I'm trying to think the exact word without going into it, but there is an item that they were chasing after that is basically going to set course for what these next 3 issues are going to be about. But yeah, I think if you're a sci-fi fan and you like comedy, this is actually a pretty nice blend. It's pretty entertaining listening to the podcast as well, so there's a lot of content when it comes to finding out what Voyage to the Stars is. But if you're a comic fan first and you pick this up and you enjoy what you're seeing, then there's a lot of audio goodness for this definitely highly praised podcast series. But yeah, a bunch of different characters, a lot of great actors kind of coming together in this own little crew. So they all kind of have their own individual fandom. So it's kind of cool seeing all these. And I think Steve Berg is the name I'm looking for. Yep. Steve Berg is one of the cast members who I think did some producing on Felicia Day's The Guild, but I first knew him in a physical role on screen in Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. He is one of Dr. Hammer's admirers. There's the 3 people that, that say, we do the weird stuff. He's the guy, because there's, 2 girls in there, and he's the guy. So I didn't know that until like listening to the podcast so it was kind of cool just to see this one actor I knew from that tiny role to be part of this too. But yeah, it's good, wacky, sci-fi hilarity for mature readers.
Speaking of weird stuff, did we get to see some Commander on ship makeout sessions? Or?
Well, let's see. We didn't get that in this issue. There's some implications of maybe that happening in the future. I'll just leave it at that, based on some of the character interactions here. So yeah.
So would you say that that's from the current timeline then, or nothing in between seasons or anything?
Yeah, I haven't listened to all of them. I've listened to a decent batch. But I am kind of getting the idea that it's probably just going to be like one of those Lost Adventure type deals. But yeah, anyone who is a super fan who's listened to them all might be able to pinpoint exactly where this goes. But in anticipation for this, I started to, from the beginning, to kind of refresh myself so that I can go through and listen to all of them again. But
I forgot it's even coming out. So
yeah. So, 4-issue series from IDW that is Voyage to the Stars. Next up, Damon. With the audio.
Everything just went
Yeah,
blank.
well, now he's got audio but no video.
Ta-da!
You only get 1 out of 2.
Yeah.
Moving around the screen.
Yo, hit West Bend.
So I picked up my first review primarily for the cover, and I actually am going to finish out reading the series. I kind of enjoyed it. It is Mars Attacks Red Sonja. I thought it was a cool cover to have the Mars Attacks alien in the back and Red Sonja in the front, and of course Red Sonja does look nice. So this was fun. The first page basically takes place today, and it just goes in to say how they've been waiting because now we're all worried about our smartphones and our double cheeseburgers and our 500 channel satellite dishes, and so now humans have grown soft, fat, and weak. Okay, so. But it goes, so that is why Mars attacks us today. And it's the same kind of stuff like from the movie, when they attack. And I'm assuming, I know there was a Mars Attacks comic book, so I'm assuming it's kind of like that. But they say that's a story for another time. And this goes in the first time Mars invaded our planet. It takes place long time ago during the Hyborian Age, whatever that was.
Conan.
Yep, could be right. I haven't read any Conan, but I know Red Sonja and Conan kind of go together. And Mars at that time was peaceful. They had a Martian emperor, but his chief science advisor had different ideas. He believed that the Martians should explore and conquer and expand their place. So just to get rid of him, the emperor sent him to Earth, which is where he wanted to go. And that's where our story starts. They basically land, take siege, and control a whole castle. And he wants to make sure that the whole bloodline is destroyed, except one manages to escape. And he sends one of his aliens out to try and capture her. And that's when they bump into Red Sonja. I don't want to give the story away too much, but I mean, it is kind of cool. This is the one Martian. He goes out riding a giant, whatever you want to call that.
A giant whatever, I think, describes it perfectly.
It's like a cross between an ant, a cockroach. I have no idea. Really weird looking. But very powerful. I mean, it does have the ability to pick up and cut a horse in half.
Oh,
Okay.
It's pretty cool. And even back then, this is what I thought would be interesting, is how does the technology, how could you even fight? Because even back then, you see from on top of his ant, he shoots, someone grabs Red Sonja out of the way, and the guy still disintegrates. So they still had the technology way back then. So how do you fight them with just a sword when they have these creatures and these guns and everything? And that's where I'm hoping to find out. She manages to kill this Martian that has come after her, and word gets back to the science, the leader that's on this party on Earth, to go out and bring her back above all else. And so that's where, as we can see here, the Horde starts marching off, trying to get Red Sonja. So this was basically just a quick introduction. Here, let me give you a little piece of the pie, but I'm holding everything back, and now the story is going to get going. So it was a lot of fun. I think I picked this up for the cover, but I thought it'd be goofy. It is, but I think I might actually really like it. So I'm going to keep reading, And it was fun. If you're a fan of like Red Sonja or like the sci-fi stuff, I can't imagine why you wouldn't like this. It's got a little bit of everything in it, and I'm just curious to find out how she's gonna fight them when they have the advanced technology. But apparently, she probably does, because they waited until, like they say on the first page, for humans to get soft, fat, and weak before they come back. So something must have really happened to them to scare them off for all those ages, and I'm sure we'll find out in the story. So that's Mars Attacks Red Sonja. Sounds goofy, and it is, but it seems to be a little fun.
Mashups are always fun.
Yes.
Good. All right. Let's go over to David for the next one.
All right. First up, I have. I'm a little behind, but I think this is still the most current issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is issue 108, and I thought I'd bring it to the table, so to speak, because now this is probably the last one I'm getting, as I've weaned myself off of the new comics and going strictly to back issues. This one follows up, and I was going to pull out 107. I can't remember where I laid it right now. 107 was kind of neat because the way that they did it, they wrote it somewhat as like a horror, your typical sci-fi horror thing where there's a creature and there's dark sewer tunnels and they're walking around and this thing's picking them off one by one. This follows up all the turtles and a bunch of other mutants have now been captured by this thing, and now we get to see a little bit more of what this thing is, and rather than it hunting them down, because I guess Mutant Town had this, it's almost like an urban legend, and they call it the Slithery, and this thing, they said it would hunt down the children and eat them, and essentially what it is it's like this big mutated eel thing. And one good thing to note with the turtle storyline here is, so we're 8 issues past the big 100th, and this is really the first issue that all 5 now of the turtles have come together and they're fighting something together and whatever. Prior to this, they were all kind of being pulled back together and rebuilding the family, and so this is the first time you actually see them in action together, really. But this asks some other questions. They find out that this creature is probably a side effect of this mutant bomb that created Mutant Town, and it asks the question: is are things still being mutated after all this time? And then they try to figure out how to deal with this creature, because they find out it's actually not hunting them down like this, like the stories are saying. It's not capturing people and eating them and stuff like that. It's capturing them, but more as like it's just kind of collecting stuff. So it's not dangerous, and there's some debate on how to handle it. It's obviously still a threat, but how much of a threat? So do they chase it off, free it from the sewers, and let it go out into the ocean, or do they keep it there? Do they kill it? What do they do with it? And so there's some really good debate on what you would do and how you would treat some creature, and what happens if more of these things pop up. Other monsters as animals are mutated, and how are they going to deal with them. This story also starts to get into the future of Mutant Town, and there's some things mentioned about maybe starting its own government, so somebody's looking after all the mutants. So it really covers a lot of things in there. I had not been a Turtles reader. I was kind of a fan. I liked a lot of the cartoons and movies and stuff, and I've read a few comics here and there, but I never, it's just not a comic that I picked up and read regularly. So since picking it up in the well, 98, 99, somewhere in there right before the big 100th issue. I started reading it and I've really enjoyed where they went with it and where they're going with it. So this is a comic that, as far as the new stuff goes, where I'm going to kind of miss picking it up and seeing what happens with it. So you never know. Down the road, I might decide to catch up on it and continue. But for now, I'll be putting this aside. But still, it'll leave me curious as to where they go with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Mutant Town.
Cool. All right, jump over to Kirby for the next one here.
All right. These weeks are just keep on getting better and better. This is something that I don't know, I might have heard about in the past and just totally forgot about, but I was listening to a podcast and they just started discussing different types of comic books during the COVID stuff. And they started talking about the Great Lakes Avengers. And I got the first 4 issue. Well, this is a 4-issue run here. And I wanted to find out more because I heard some things that were like catching my ears, and I figured I'd check them out. And it starts out, well, this run was from 2005. Squirrel Girl and her first sidekick squirrel named Monkey Joe intro the comic book, even though they don't appear in it till issue number 2. They give a PSA for the kids in Squirrel Girl fashion. GLA consists of Mr. Immortal. Death Urge is in here. He's like a black spirit type character. That's that's Mr. Immortal's imaginary friend when he's younger. Shows him his upbringing in Wisconsin, and Monkey Joe keeps popping up with little valuable info on the pages for the readers. Don't know if he's got this, but I collect plug and plays. I didn't know this one was out here. There's this little Star Wars plug and play. And then, speaking of Joe Quesada, you got your little couple of Joes in here. Very
Nice.
Now and then, Anthony. But yeah, the artwork's nice, basic artwork. The characters are just hilarious. Mr. Immortal, he can't be killed. Once he figures out he had superpowers, it was time for him to form a team. So he formed the Milwaukee Avengers by putting a little ad in the paper, the Wisconsin Avengers, the GLA, changing around, trying to figure out what names to come up with. Doorman is a living portal where anybody can just go right through him as long as he's against something, and they can go right through him to the other side. Flatman, he's the 2D Avenger. He basically, like his name is, he's a flat person. And so if he's standing sideways, no one sees him, knows that he's standing next to him and stuff. Big Bertha, she's the ample Amazon. She's one of the hottest Wisconsin beauty models, and then she can morph it into different sizes and stuff. And you got Dinosaur, which is Wisconsin's winged wonder. It's basically a pterodactyl type chick. And then Leather Boy accidentally misread the ad and appeared for it, so to become one of the Avengers. They take on the Animan, fighting against cosmetic testing and wearing fur. Maelstrom appears. The real Avengers collapse due to critical characters dying. And the GLA try to take over duties for the regular Avengers. And they lose one of their own. And they try to recruit some more known superheroes with no luck until they accidentally meet Squirrel Girl and Monkey Joe. Soon follows in the team is also Grasshopper. And eventually another GLA member dies. And then you got Death Urge. He flies around on cross-country skis. It just all fits in perfectly with all of Wisconsin. And it's nice hearing all our little towns in there and all the little references and stuff. But this just made my week. And getting to see the origin of the predecessor to Tippy Toe, getting to see Monkey Joe. And then this week, I'm sitting here looking out my back window, and a bald eagle swooped down in our backyard and grabbed something. And I was worried because I didn't see our squirrels for a couple days. So I thought maybe my Monkey Joe got kidnapped because I got X2, Monkey Joe, and Tippy Toe, or our 3 squirrels out here. And I keep seeing Tippy Toe, the lighter tailed one, but I didn't see the bigger one. So I figured that one got scooped up by the bald eagle. But then Shelly said she's seen all 3 this morning, so hopefully he's still around. But yeah, when I heard there was a predecessor to Tippy Toe, I had to find out, and I was so hoping. I just started ordering stuff. Anything I could find with Great Lake Avengers, hoping that I'd find something that had Monkey Joe in it so I could get that origin there. And luckily it was in that 2006 version. So yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah, that's definitely something they need to do for like a Disney Plus miniseries or something, and just take all of the wacky characters they have access to and then
just more fun.
Then throw in like Sam Wilson in there to get somebody, legit Avengers to, All right, good. We'll jump over to Dr. Kurtzstad for the next one. Welcome back to the club, Dr. Kurtzstad.
Thank you. Guess I better leave Pandora, or nobody will be able to see the comics that I hold up, if I can find the none. There we go. All right. I'm a big fan of historical fiction sort of comics, where they actually use historical figures as characters in the comic. So I really love this one. Lost the front cover there. After Houdini. It's a look at Houdini from a slightly different sort of understanding of him. This particular comic, which came out in 2018, Dark Horse, looks at Houdini's son, actually, Joseph Houdini, who has to come in because his father has disappeared, and he finds out that his father actually was not only a great stage magician, but was a part of a secret government agency. And that actually part of this government agency is they are all magicians from the time who have actual magic that they've developed through a light power that they've all mastered as part of their magical skills. What it does is it enhances whatever magical skill they particularly have. So alongside Houdini, I have to look up the, they have also Fred Hurd, who was a great sort of conjurer from that particular period, stage magician, who actually has figured a way to draw in organic material through magic. They also have T. Nelson Downs, who was a coin manipulator from that time, but actually he's using telekinesis to manipulate the coins. And they also have William J. Hiller, who was a great card manipulator, who's actually using teleportation to move the cards around. And Houdini's specialty being escape was it magnified his abilities to actually magically escape from things. And they all worked for the government against dark magical forces that are out there manipulating magic for nefarious purposes, and the government uses them as their weapons against that. And Houdini's disappeared, so they go and get his son, who is also has the escape capabilities that Houdini did, and so he gains this magical ability as well. And they go out to thwart the bad guy, who happens to be Rasputin, who everybody thought was dead, but has actually been using the dark side of these magical forces to try to conquer the world. And so you get other historical characters who are also brought into it. Teddy Roosevelt is the head of the secret society that is working for the government. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle is their English connection with MI6. And so you have all these historical factors kind of tying into the story that goes on. And it's really, I think, a fascinating kind of combination of magic, spies, and historical fiction. And actually, there was a sequel then that was done before Houdini, which actually goes back and sees Houdini when he's a kid, when he first acquires these magical powers. He and 4 other teenagers are working for MI6, doing the same sort of things, looking for dark forces that now the British government is trying to stop. And again, Teddy Roosevelt is then the contact person for the United States over in Britain when he's working for MI6. You also run into people like H.G. Wells. So it's a great adventure series with magic and with just really interesting characters that are part of it. So for anybody who's into that kind of thing, and there's been a lot of them lately, Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders was these heroic figures that Teddy Roosevelt has put together, that takes historical figures and makes them part of a team, or the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. All of these are that same kind of storyline where you take characters who are a part of history or a part of fiction and bring them together into a storyline. I love those stories, and this was another great example of that. So before Houdini and after Houdini.
Good, thank you. We're going to jump over and check in with our Jedi ambassador, Katie.
Oh, thank you. That's the best job I've ever had. Fantastic. All right. So this week I'm bringing you Star Wars Adventures, Volume 4, Smuggler's Blues. This is another volume from the all-ages Star Wars comics from IDW. Definitely great for younger readers and families to read together. A lot of fun for kids at heart of all ages. So Han Solo and Chewbacca are getting into some trouble like they do, and they run into Zuckuss and Orlom, 2 bounty hunter droids who have some questions for them. And as they are all trying to escape from one another, they crash land on a planet that is inhabited by giant robot scorpions, and they have to try and get away from that. And can they make their delivery on their cargo? We'll find out. And then that story is written by Kevin Scott, whose work I quite enjoyed. He's risen up to the ranks of Star Wars media. And Han Solo is drawn in the likeness of Alden Ehrenreich, so it could sway your decision on whether or not you want to read it. The next story is by Elsa Chartier, and it is a story with Lando Calrissian. This is Lando kind of post-Bespin, so he's a legitimate businessman now, being responsible, and an acquaintance from the past comes to him and asks him for some help because her son wants to be really cool, be a tough guy, thinks he wants to be a smuggler. So the acquaintance is asking Lando to maybe steer him in a better direction, and Lando decides he will teach him by example, and that was pretty fun. And then finally, the last story is Jackson and Amazia are 2 characters from Legends that if you know, you know, and they are doing a mission to help out the Rebel Alliance and protect a species that is down to its last couple of members. Anyway, really great, just a lot of fun. I love reading these. They're super short, they're easy to get through, and they have that great adventure feeling of the original trilogy. And I love seeing outreach towards the younger fans. So, Volume 4.
All righty. Thank you, thank you.
You notice for Dalek Katie, I'm now inside the TARDIS, so.
We're going to have some challenges then.
We'll have to take it in by the Jawas because of a bad motivator, maybe. So.
I thought it was the chameleon circuit that was bad. Do you think Jawas know how to fix chameleon circuits?
All right, next up, we are going to jump over to Jim.
All right. I bring in Justice League number 51. I'm bringing mostly because it is the start of a new creative team. So if you're looking to jump into Justice League, this is a good time to start because it is a brand new story, brand new adventure, nothing other than basic Justice League history to fall back on. They are returning to Earth from an adventure in space, which, if you read the previous ones, you know what it was, but it doesn't matter here. And they're kind of reminiscing on the past as they travel, and instead of ending up on Earth, they end up on another planet that seems to be completely dead of life and filled with debris and dead spaceships. They head to the surface and they discover basically the entire planet is occupied by the Black Mercy, which, if you're a Superman fan or if you've watched the Supergirl TV show, the Black Mercy is a plant from Krypton, I believe, that puts a person into a dreamlike coma and makes them live within their own memories and their own fantasies. This plant has taken over the entire planet, and it soon takes over virtually every one of the Justice League members, except maybe Batman. There is one thing that is really stand out about this issue, and it's when they first are arriving. There's they're all kind of starting to fall into the effects of the Black Mercy, and it's this page, which is like 3 or 4 in, and it's a double spread. There we go. And it's really interesting that you can either read across, or you can read this and then down, or you can read down all the way across, and it works every single way.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a Flash episode, or it's a Batman episode, or it's, the story works no matter how you read it. And I went back and I did read it 3 or 4 times, and it works. So that was very clever, the way that was both drawn, written, and laid out. So good work on that creative team. And by the way, the creative team now is, let's get their whole names. Where do they put it here? Loveness. Maybe I won't find it.
Jeff Loveness.
Okay, you know them. Okay. Jeff Loveness, Roca, Henriquez, and Fajardo Jr.
I think they're all named Jeff. I think their first names are Jeff.
Okay. Jeff, and Jeff.
Jeffs are working on it.
Thank you, Jeff.
3 Jeffs. It's like the 3 Jokers, but just Jeffs.
The Clown Prince of Jeffs.
So, again, good start. Good place to start with the Justice League again.
Cool. All right.
What issue number was that?
51.
51.
All right. My next title here is something that I have been really looking forward to. This is The Fantastic Four Antithesis, issue number 1. An unstoppable meteor of unknown origin has just erupted from hyperspace, and unless the Fantastic Four can find a way to stop it from hitting Manhattan, millions will die. All right, this is written by Mark Waid, and this is what's kind of exciting and shocking about it, is that this is the first time that writer and artist, but artist for this book, Neil Adams, is doing interior work for the Fantastic Four. Longtime comic book creator, and it's just one of those things being like, wait, he's never done this before in the decades that he's been in the industry. So that's kind of what a big selling point is, that this is all Neil Adams interior art. This is something that it feels like it could be something that's a lost tale out of time, but it does have modern references. Like they mention a meme in there, so it definitely tells you that it's taking place in today's times. But even based on like the Neil Adams art opening page, we have a nihilist coming in. So when you look at especially Neil Adams art for this one, you're kind of set back to a certain time that you that's what's kind of interesting about this read. This is a pretty straightforward, cookie cutter Fantastic Four issue, but that is not saying that in a negative way. It was definitely just a great feel to kind of read something that felt old but is a brand new story. This is dealing with a bunch of portals that are opening up around New York, and Annihilus has come through one of them, and the Fantastic Four are on it as they need to team up to basically send them back to the negative zone. So while that's happening, the whole this, I think I want to say it's a 4-issue miniseries as well. This is kind of dealing with the fact that there is a weekend retreat with the Avengers going on. So the Fantastic Four are setting up a very young Valeria and Franklin. So that'll kind of tell you too that it's kind of a lost tale out of time, yet modern references. So they're not the teenagers and superhero sidekicks that they are now in the current FF book. But just as they're planning to do this little retreat trip, as the title, as the premise it kind of alluded to, is that there is a meteor crashing to Earth, and now the Fantastic Four have to go and stop it. Want to comment and just, the Neil Adams art is really good. He draws, it's always very detailed. It's always very big, very expressive. It's kind of like a student of Kirby in that sense, I think, is maybe the good way to explain it. It just, just some kind of art that you don't always see nowadays. So it's kind of refreshing to kind of see this being done now. And this one I can't really go into like leaving the end of mystery, because on the cover, and is one of the selling points, is that the Silver Surfer is in the arms of the Fantastic Four. So that is definitely kind of what is ultimately dealing with. But the reason he is crashing to Earth is going to be the mystery for those that want to check it out. But yeah, like I said, everything was pretty much upfront in the synopsis and the cover, but good classic Fantastic Four storytelling in a modern time, but out of the current continuity. So that is the Fantastic Four Antithesis, issue number 1 of 4. All right, we're going to jump back over to Damon for the next one.
Okay, this was Alien, the original screenplay, issue number 2. For those that don't remember, this is based on the original screenplay before H.R. Geiger, however you pronounce the name, and some of the special effects team got together and redid everything, and all the changes that were made into what became the movie we know today. The backstory is still the same. The crew of the Starship, in this case, it's Snark, not Nostromo, as what we got in the movie, intercepted a voice transmission believed to be an SOS, or first contact of non-human intelligence. The crew traced the source, leading them to a desolate planetoid. On its surface, they discovered a derelict spacecraft, and inside the body of a petrified extraterrestrial who had been dead for centuries. Possibly being the single most important discovery in human history, only speculation remained what happened and what killed it. This picks up right where the last one left off. They decide to go back down and explore the ship on this planet some more. Some of the differences, the big differences is, and I thought this was kind of a nice touch, but I could see why it was cut from the film back in the day, was this planet, if you can remember from the movie, was really like dusty, and it was dark, and it was hard to see. This time, the storm breaks, it's daylight, and when they check on their scopes, they see in the distance a pyramid. That kind of ties in with how the aliens helped the Egyptians build the pyramids and stuff like that. I thought that was kind of a neat touch. It's inside this pyramid that we discover the eggs. They crawl in from the top. There's an opening. He crawls on in there, and it is this time that the computer decodes the actual transmission. And I'll get into that in a second. But the eggs definitely look different. To give you an example, let's see here's a big room inside the pyramid, and then on the bottom, if you can kind of see, those are what the eggs look like. In fact, you know what? Here's a better picture right on the cover.
Ooh.
That's what the egg looks like this time around. They go in there, and the face hugger isn't what we saw in the movie. I must admit, the movie definitely takes the cake. But to give you an idea, here is the crew member right here in this panel with what we would call the face hugger in this issue. Now, keep in mind, all the descriptions of the ships, the alien, everything in here are based on the actual descriptions in the original script by Dan O'Bannon. So it's neat to see the differences. It does have the same kind of acid for blood, which is neat. They do have the same problems trying to remove it. But the distress signal that they decoded, which I don't think they talked about too much in the original movie, was not a come help, but a stay away, a warning.
I think that was in the movie too. There was kind of a don't come here.
It could be. It's been a while since I've seen the original Aliens. But yeah, I can't find it. But at any rate, the same dilemma where in the movie where Ripley didn't want to let him onto the ship for fear of contamination, that setup still occurs in here. And of course, this one, it's just teasing. You know, you want to get to the nitty gritty, you want to get to the good stuff, but this one leaves off when they realize they can't cut it off because of the acid for blood, and the thing automatically heals. And so we're left with this final look of this thing on its head after it's healed from them trying to remove it. And then the coming soon. Now, I don't know if that is just a better picture of the chest burster, or if that's what the alien baby that bursts out is going to look like, but that's all we know. So it should be cool. I think this run is only like 4 issues long, so I'm hoping the next issue is where the action is really going to get going. But it's definitely neat to see, you know, what it was originally planned to be the Alien movie that we got, 40-some years ago, before it was all changed. It's fun. It's a neat take. It's like reading the story or hearing the story for the first time, even though it's kind of the same as what you've always known. So that's the Alien number 2.
Does sound really neat, as opposed to, I read the original storyline for Star Wars. They did that as a comic version. It was like, if they had tried to run that, the movie would have been a flop.
Yeah. In fact, I actually have that too myself, and I haven't.
So this
read
sounds like it's much, much better than.
Yes.
Yes.
So far.
Yep. That's the one. I'm afraid I was not impressed by the original Star Wars.
I thought it was interesting to see like what was all kind of condensed in that, where you just had like, Leia had younger twin brothers, and then they got rid of that, but then made Luke and Leia twins. So like it's an interesting process to kind of see.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at the process, but you have to. I mean, I read it and went, man, if they had gone with this.
Ooh, don't say that. I got 2 copies of it, and I haven't read them yet. Now I'm scared.
Now, with all the different changes, though, in Star Wars from, the first draft to the time that they actually made it, there were so many different changes in there.
Yep.
I wonder if there were any versions of that would have been as good or better than what we got in the end, or if it, really did just work out for the best that they went with what they went with.
Yep.
The world will never know.
Nope.
All right. We're going to jump over to David.
All right. So what I'm bringing is actually a comic that I owed Anthony, and he probably doesn't even remember because I said that something was talked about several weeks ago, and I said there was something that I was going to have to bring and talk about. And I'll get to why in a minute. But this actually leads me back to one of the first comic books that I bought, and kind of the start of my comic collecting. And this is Uncanny X-Men number 245. And yes, even though it was done by Rob Liefeld, I didn't abandon comic books and continued to read it. But I also understood he was just an artist that was on the book for this issue. There's a lot of things about this issue where I realized that wasn't what I was going to get all the time. I don't know even how I realized it, being new to comics, but this is kind of like a standalone story for the most part. And, so it was actually a good issue to grab, if you were new to comics or just trying to check out X-Men at the time. It was a standalone story where at some point all the women of the X-Men had gone out and had their fun little adventure, and so now it was the guys' turn. So they've got some downtime and they decide that they're going to go out and just blow off a little steam, and they have a lot of fun with this issue. I was introduced to the X-Men at that point by some old cartoon stuff like Pride of the X-Men and their appearances in like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and stuff like that. So I knew a few of the characters through there. So I won't go through the whole history again. But yeah, I decided to pick up X-Men. I read it. It's a fun issue. They have a lot of fun with it. It opens up to basically the Dominators from DC. And it's this whole thing where the male X-Men go out. At this time, they were it's when they were in the abandoned kind of ghost town in Australia was their headquarters. And so they go into town and they're having some fun. But while this is going on, all these aliens decide that they're going to invade the Earth. And if you really look in here, there are a lot of cameos. You got E.T. and Alf and Jabba the Hutt and Boba Fett and an alien, a xenomorph from Aliens, and all these different characters from DC and Star Wars and different franchises. And they just kind of throw them all in here as this alien kind of armada that wants to invade the Earth. There's some other stuff in this book too. We get some other DC kind of cameos, and I got to find some of this stuff. But the reason I had to bring it in, because at one point something was mentioned about a gene bomb, and Anthony, who isn't even, where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Okay. So he goes, gene bomb. And he start clicking like, he does with some of these things. Oh, I could use that as a gene bomb. But they did that here. They actually have a gene bomb. And this is their secret weapon. This is the thing that they're going to unleash upon the Earth, is their gene bomb.
I just spent the last year writing and drawing a comic surrounding that, but now I have to throw it all away.
Oh, that's a real shame. I got to find some of those.
You could probably get copyright permission from Marvel or something.
If I'm getting any copyright permission from Marvel, it's to do more Elf comics. Hey, Willie. That's where I went.
Here was another spot where as the aliens start invading the Earth, who's going to cover that topic? But our pals down at the Daily Planet. Oh wait, they're not actually able to say Daily Planet, so you only get part of that in there. you know, and the editor is just called Chief. So, you know, they throw a lot of stuff in, but you'll see who's sitting behind the news desk here. Is definitely looks like our pal Clark Kent, which we again see him later as he gets involved in a poker game with Logan. We're sitting at a bar playing poker, and our Superman knockoff is all out of money, so Logan bets his life. And I don't think that they actually say where that went. You don't get to see someone take someone else's life, but you know, they return home and Logan's still in one piece. So they went out and they had some fun and return, and then it sets up for going back into the more, you know, regular storylines that they were doing at the time. But it was just a really fun story, kind of parodying some of the other things going on, DC's invasion, the Dominators, and then of course throwing in all the different aliens into this armada and being able to go through the art and pick them and going through and going, oh, I didn't even notice that that Yoda was in there, or I didn't notice that ET was in there, but they're all in there. So yeah, it was a good pick again for somebody going into it, especially if you have a sense of humor. But it's not your typical X-Men story, but it was definitely a good jump on point. It introduces the characters in a way where you don't have to feel like oh, I don't know what happened for the last 20 years or, you know, whatever, and kind of just nudges you into the regular storyline that was going on. So,
and long shots in it, my favorite X-Men. So
yes, he was. He got several scenes where he gets to get put with the ladies, you know, because he was always, you know, he was so dreamy with his mullet. But yeah, he you know, just his good long shot luck and whatever, you know, he gets to face off against the women, and you know, he distracts them a little bit. So, but that was Uncanny X-Men 245, the issue that kicked off my years and years long love of X-Men and collecting X-Men comics.
And that's the exact issue where you became a fan of Superman, right? No, it wasn't. I was already a fan of Superman, okay. But of course, the little gas station where they had a comic book rack where I was buying comics from at the very beginning didn't have any DC comics. Otherwise, I probably would have ended up grabbing like Action Comics or something like that. I chose from 3 comics. It was Uncanny X-Men, The Amazing Spider-Man, and I always forget if it was an Incredible Hulk issue or a Wolverine issue. I believe it was a Wolverine issue, but had Incredible Hulk in it. They were both in there. But between the 3, I went with the X-Men just because there were a lot more characters, having a team comic. So if you didn't like one character, you know, you had all these other characters. And so to this day, I still sometimes will recommend to people, if you're not sure what to read and you're getting into comics, picking a team comic, you know, like X-Men or Justice League or something like that is nice, because you do get those different characters, and you know, for that reason, you get to find some character or characters that you like by picking them out of a batch of them, rather than reading one comic and trying your luck with just one character like Spider-Man or Deadpool or Batman or whoever it is. Yeah, it's like getting Frito-Lay munchies where you get Doritos, Sun Chips, pretzels, Cheetos, you know?
Yeah, you try a variety of them, you know, all at one time in one pack.
Anybody like Sun Chips?
Oh, I love Sun Chips.
Oh, I do.
Sun Chips are so good. Can I have some Sun Chips right now?
I'm with Jim on that one, but yeah, my family eats sun chips, but of course, my family has weird like eating habits. So.
You know who don't eat sun chips? Vampires. Next up, I'll put the laugh track in the post.
Superman
next-
only eats yellow sun chips.
Crickets.
Yeah, they eat crickets too. Oh wait, next up is Kirby.
I don't know about the gene bomb, but I prefer the nude bomb from Get Smart. I picked up a couple holiday specials.
Star Wars holiday specials.
Nope, these are the Great
please,
Lakes
no.
holiday specials. First, from the Great Lakes X-Men, we got the Great GLX Xmas. You see right there, you can see this guy dressed in black. That's Dorman. He ended up taking over for Death Urge. Death Urge was a death dealer, would take people to the other side as they passed. And now Dorman ended up getting that ability also, and that's why he has his cross-country skis so he can fly around. But this one has stories like Squirrel Girl in Eggnog, Toilet Paper, and Peace on Earth. Mr. Immortal is in Days of Christmas Past. Grasshopper is in Getting on the Right Foot. Doorman is in Working Holiday. Tippy Toe is in Squirrel on Squirrel Action. Season's Greetings from the GLX and Flatman's Special Christmas Gift to You. It's nice because they all flow very nicely into each other on here. I want to read the first part of Squirrel Girl talking here. It's got Happy Holidays, Squirrel Girl here. And this is my girl, Squirrel Tippy Toe. We just wanted to welcome you to the GLXmas special and warn you about some of the stuff inside, like violence, suicide, and an inappropriate use of the word flock. If you think you might be offended by any of that, Marvel is also putting out a Punisher Christmas special. So there you go, just for Eric. Oh yeah, flock you. This one.
Nice visual effects, Anthony.
Squirrel Girl was reading the visual. If you'll see it on the video.
You got Dum Dum Dugan in here, MODOK, Thanos, Dr. Tannenbaum, Killer Shrike, Terra X, Oblivion Lord of Darkness, and Death Urge. It's just tons of fun little Christmas stories in here. And I don't want to give stuff away because it's just you gotta read the different things and what happens to the characters. So this poor guy, Mr. Grasshopper, he goes through quite some things in the different episodes here. And then for Anthony and Kurt, yeah, a nice little flat man cut out in the back.
You didn't cut it out yet.
Nope. I can't
He's
cut
waiting
this
until
one.
Kurt's around.
This one I can't cut out unless I get a second issue of it. And then you have things like Christmas trees attacking you. That's why, what do you do when a Christmas tree attacks you? You get out the flocking machines, and that's how the whole flock you comes about. The other special is the Great Lakes Initiative. Deadpool GLI Summer Fun Special. And this one, you got the story begins in the early days of Olympus, focusing on Dionysus, god of revelry and wine, who gets drunk and falls off of Olympus and falls all the way to Earth. He's found on Christmas Mountain in Wisconsin by Mr. Immortal, I believe. Or no, and he gets found by different AIM scientists, that's right. And then an inebriation wave gets sent out because of him being there, and it makes all of Earth's superheroes drunk. So they take his power and make this inebriation wave, and for some reason they just focus it on the superheroes. They all get drunk and stupefied, but the GLI and Deadpool fight them anyways, because people like Deadpool and Mr. Immortal, even though they're drunk, they can drink till they die, but then they come back to life. So then they're sober, and so they're the only superheroes around that aren't wasted out of their minds. So they get the call to come to the fight. Then they go to Wisconsin Dells, and they fight over who will stop the inebriation wave and save the world. Same with the other one. The storylines flow really nicely together. The storylines in this one are called Squirrel Girl Interludes, Deadpool and the Great Lakes Initiative in Drunk with Power, Big Bertha and Deadpool in A Date with Destiny, and Flatman and Deadpool in Fight or Fold. But yeah, this is lots of fun. Deadpool basically pushes his way into their little camp and makes himself at home, and you can just imagine how much he destroys their lair, and it's just lots of good fun.
Cool. Next up, Dr. Kurtstad.
All right, I guess I got to come out of the TARDIS, even though the Dalek's still there.
Eternal for the Golden Star.
Thor, number 6. And you can tell this is the end of the arc that's been going on, because it's called Herald of None. For those who've been following along in this, Thor has, for a time, became the Herald of Galactus, been given cosmic power, so he could go around and help Galactus find some planets to absorb their energy, special planets with especially powerful energies, because the Dark Winter is coming from another galaxy to destroy our universe. Galactus has talked Thor into helping oppose this force when it comes. But in the issue just before this, we find out that Dark Winter's not coming to destroy our universe. It's coming to take Galactus back, who was his herald in his universe before he escaped to our universe. And he left the Dark Winter high and dry without a herald. And so now he's being sought out for having to be drawn back for punishment, it sounds like. This issue then finishes the whole storyline. It actually starts out really interestingly, because it doesn't start out where we left the last issue. Instead, Thor is sitting on his throne drinking, is where we end up at the beginning. And the Silver Surfer comes to, now not the Silver Surfer, the Dark Silver Surfer, comes to kind of find out what's wrong, to console him, to do whatever. And so then from there, we get the story unravels of what actually happened at the end of the confrontation between Galactus and Thor and the Dark Winter. I don't want to give away a lot, because people may be reading these issues still. It was I think a really great story how they played this out. To give you a hint, though, here is the new accoutrement in Asgard.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Galactus's helmet. So we know something happened to Galactus in this story, and if you want to find out, then you have to go back and read the story. But the other interesting part of this is, as the battle goes on, the Dead of Winter tells Thor, "I will give you a vision of what your end will be." And so as part of the comic, you also get a vision of what the end of Thor will be. So that's also, I think, a powerful part of the story that goes on in this. It seems to be haunting Thor now as we end this particular issue. And Thor is continuing to struggle with, and this has been happening for quite a few issues now, he's having difficulty lifting the hammer anymore. And then kind of picture of the next issue. I think they have it in here. Yes. Let's see. No, they don't. But you get an indication that someone else may have to come along and lift this hammer. Oh, yeah, here it is. Next issue. Right here on the bottom. Notice the hands reaching for the hammer. Who will be the one who wields it? Now that Thor is in trouble. So, lot of things that are going to lead into some future books, I think, some real visions of where the Thor comics are going right now. So this was really a great ending up of that arc with Thor serving as the herald for Galactus.
Well, I'm happy because it's finally answered a question for me. I've never really known if that was a helmet that Galactus wore or if that was his actual head. So that's cleared up.
Well, and the interesting thing for me in finishing this is in earlier comics, they talked about that Galactus was a necessary part of the balance that goes on in our universe. So what happens if somehow Galactus gets eliminated from our universe? Does that throw everything out of whack? And you have to find out whether he actually is eliminated by reading this comic, but then the question is, if he was, what happens to our universe?
Well, if nobody's around to eat the planets, then the planets just keep multiplying, and pretty soon there's just too many planets.
If Galactus wasn't around, then the Surfer wouldn't be around, and I would have more money in my bank account.
Well, there, silver lining for everything, right?
Unintended. All right. Next
So what
up,
hangs in the balance is actually your bank account balance.
all right. Next up, we're going to jump over to Jim.
All right. I've got Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, Book 2. This is another DC Black Label, and it's also in the Prestige format, so it's like a little bit bigger than normal comic books. This is a very fun series so far. It's written by Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti, who wrote Harley Quinn for the New 52, and I believe into for quite a while. And the art is reminiscent of that. It's the fun from that series, but it is definitely brought up a notch into the Black Label, deserving of a Black Label title. I mean, the violence is there. You see her, not her and Joker, but you see Joker and the violence that he was capable of against Harley. You don't see it, but you do see another girlfriend of Joker who is kind of taking Harley's place, and her name is Sin, S-I-N-N. Now, I am not familiar with this character, if she exists at any place else in the DC universe. This is the first time I've ever seen her. And Joker is not really nice to her. And it shows. There's one thing that I wanted to bring up. I talked about this last time, that Cass, who plays Orphan in normal DC, now doesn't seem to have the character Orphan or the personality Orphan as an option. So she goes and visits Barbara Gordon, who's laid up with a broken leg, and borrows a costume and goes out in a Batgirl costume minus the mask. So for people that are familiar with the DC universe, the history, while Batgirl, or while Barbara Gordon was Oracle, there were two characters that did wear the Batgirl mantle for a while. One of them was Stephanie Brown, and the other one was Cassandra Cain. So this is kind of a throwback to that. and it's kind of neat to see her wearing that because we haven't heard about her time as Batgirl since the New 52 came around. But lots of fun. Still, Harley's pursuing justice against the Maffeo Corporation that burnt down her building and beat up her friend. So, and now she's in Gotham to do it, and Detective Montoya is trying to prevent all the violence that she knows will occur if Harley gets her way. So, much fun. I believe Damon and Kirby are both reading this as well.
I am as well.
And Anthony.
And now, after you talking about this, I'm hungry to make one of Harley Quinn's egg sandwiches, which I think I will make after the club.
I looked it
There
up
you
real
go.
quick. On the line it says that Sin appeared in Harley Quinn 14 and Harley Quinn 17.
Okay, so she does come out of Jimmy and Amanda's run on Harley Quinn.
I thought Dr. Kurtz's was in a bowling alley at first, but it looks like he's on one of the Star Trek ships, Enterprise.
Yep,
or
the
something.
original Enterprise.
One of them, yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a
NC
bowling alley.
NCC 1701.
There is a Harley getting some revenge against the Joker, and Joker had a lot of enemies made because of Harley's revenge. So that's kind of cool to see how that happens too. So,
And what I'm wondering is which Joker was Harley's boyfriend, or did she know? Maybe it was all three.
maybe it's all three. Yeah,
Could be.
that one.
Yeah, maybe it was that one.
Or maybe it's that way.
All right. My next title here is pretty timely, even though this came out in the 90s, but we've been talking about Galactus and Silver Surfer. This is The Tick Karma Tornado, issue number 4. After the Tick competes in an intergalactic sports competition, instead of being beamed back to Earth, he is mistakenly transported to deep space. There he encounters Ham, who is a remnant of the space race, who was launched and then lost by NASA, who was since acquired intelligence. Ham is the caretaker to the Nigh Omnipotus. So the Tick sent to space, he was meant to go back to Earth, but ended up staying in space, came across this astronaut chimp, and who he was talking with, and he was kind of learning the chimp's history. And once the chimp kind of got on an idea of who the Tick is and maybe some of his stupidity and knowing that he can pull over a fast one on him, the chimp introduced him to, as we see on the cover here, this giant space entity of a man here, the Nigh Omnipotus, who is essentially a parody on Galactus. So the Tick ends up meeting with this guy and starts to be his servant. He's scratching his giant back. He's, cleaning, if he goes number 2 and has an accident, then the Tick is in charge of taking care of that. Basically a lot of work that the Tick is kind of realizing that this space chimp basically played him, and he hightailed it out of there and left Tick to deal with the mess, so to speak. But what's kind of cool is that after some time has passed by, the Tick is wanting to kind of get out on his own. He's sick of doing all these extra chores for the Nigh Omnipotus. So he decides to give him an opportunity to travel the spaceways. So he gives him one of his flip-flops. So yes, the Tick goes surfing on one of the giant space flip-flops here as he gets to travel the spaceways. This just becomes a hilarious issue. The Tick is very good with being a parody of all superhero-related comics. I talked about it over a month ago, I think, about the parody to Superman, which is relative to what David talked about earlier with Uncanny X-Men. So the Tick, this Karma, I forgot to say it, the Karma Tornado series is a spin-off series that wasn't done by Ben Edlund, the original creator. This is when, the other series was still kind of coming out slowly, but then a different kind of creative team. The animated series was starting to take off, so Ben Edlund was working on that. This is actually an episode that was adapted in the animated series as well. As I'm rewatching those, I'm excited to come across that. So I'm kind of reading the comics and watching the animated series back and forth there. But yeah, it was kind of fun because I'm sure I saw the animated episode back in grade school, but when picking up this issue, once the Galactus and Silver Surfer parody of it all popped up, I was rather excited because all my worlds were colliding. But yeah, the Tick himself within this issue finds out the true mission of the Nigh Omnipotus. So that is kind of what this issue deals with. But yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of crazy. Yeah, and then in the corner here, he advertises for a couple issues of the Karma Tornado series. There is a flip over cover for a 4-page separate story, and this is called Tick's Back because they were gearing up for the other series to return. So they were doing several of these little pre-hype issues, as they called them, which was on the flip side of the this here. I kind of lost where I'm at. Yep. Okay. So the Tick's Back is on the back. So you get so much story with these issues, and they're a lot of fun. So, and if you haven't read the Tick before, even this one is just hilarity. Each one is very inviting to the crazy world because almost what happened in the last issue doesn't always really matter when you read. There's a couple, continuing parts of the story, but ultimately you can just jump in and get a couple good laughs. So that is the Tick Karma Tornado issue number 4. I think they ran to 9 issues on this particular series.
I gotta say, I love it when we have episodes that work out this way, where there's a lot of things that are connected because it's not planned out whatsoever. But a lot of connections between my X-Men issue and your Tick issue and how it works out. And we've talked about Galactus and his helmet, and then Galactus parody and how somebody's got to clean up after. And while I did have one Galactus question answered, I suddenly thought of another one, which is brought up by this Tick issue, and that is when Galactus eats these planets, does it create some sort of waste? I mean, what happens with it? I mean, does it make asteroids?
Why do you think all of his heralds eventually leave?
I think this might be a story for Marvel comedy writer Daniel Kibblesmith. I think this would be something he could tackle pretty well. So
the black hole is his natural toilet. Just go up to a black hole and dump it out.
Yeah, that's one of those times that we're kind of glad that the comic book medium isn't also an audio medium. So, or a sensual,
a sense around.
Okay, that was fun. The next up, we're going to jump over to Damon.
Okay, keeping up with my alien theme is a new issue of Conspiracy. One of the things I like about this series, this is the second arc, the first arc has been up for a while, is they take real conspiracies and then try to do their own story to it. For instance, this month's issue is called Black Knight and Satellite, which is a popular conspiracy theory. They do a nice little write-up describing it here on the front. And it's years ago, a NASA mission caught a glimpse of what officials reported as space debris making its way back to Earth. Others claim that it is photographic evidence of an extraterrestrial spy satellite that has been orbiting the Earth for over 13,000 years, transmitting data on us back to an otherworldly location. Throughout the years, there have been many theories surrounding this mysterious object that has been dubbed the Black Knight satellite. Is the truth to this object out there? Are we being watched? And if so, what are the intentions of those doing the watching? This issue was a lot of fun and is a giant, non-stop action scene. That's the best way to describe it. Your first page starts with a squadron taking off from a aircraft carrier in the ocean. And the next page is when they come in contact with an alien spacecraft. And the entire book, with the exception of the last page, is the giant dogfight in the sky. It is pretty cool. I've never had like where a whole book is one giant action scene. And there is some cool stuff. The pilot described this alien aircraft as a Tic Tac, which I guess is one way of saying, but it hovers above the water. And then it shoots a beam into the water. And as you can see, things are coming up and out of the ocean into the giant Tic Tac, as you would. On the next page, you get a more closer look at what is coming out of the air, out of the ocean. So it's kind of like they're hitching their ride home, so to speak. The pilots see this, and then bad things happen to them. And there's some cool effects with like laser lights. Like 2 pilots had to eject. Whoops, I'm sorry. And you can see the green laser lights come out, and what actually happens to them? Chops them into bits. Like you can see all her body parts go flying. It's pretty cool. And then I don't want to give too much away, but then on the end you're treated to another reason why there could be so many missing people in this planet. But you can see how there are humans kept in tanks, kind of like what we would do with our experimental creatures that we find. And then on this page, I'm going to cover this up, but you can see the vast numbers of cylinders, kind of reminiscent to me of like the movie Fire in the Sky at the end, where you see all the possibilities. But the coolest thing for me was if you ever want to just Google Black Knight satellite, you can actually see the photograph that a space shuttle took in 1998 of what people claim to be the Black Knight satellite. And this Tic Tac that picked up the aliens goes into their mothership, which looks exactly like that picture that NASA took of the Black Knight satellite. So that's pretty close to what the real object looks like if you look up the picture from NASA from 1998. And I thought that was actually a real nice touch, how they put their own little story and fictional twist on it, but it's based off of like a real photograph and a real conspiracy theory, if you're into that. And of course, the last 2 pages is sort of the connection to the other issues in this arc, and it's all going to build up to the final one next month called Planet X. So this was fun. I really like the tie-in to the real conspiracy, and I like the fact that the whole book was one giant, basically, dogfight in the sky action scene between our boys and aliens. It was kind of cool. So that's my review of Black Knight Satellite.
All right. We're going to jump over to Kirby for the next one.
All right, I got the 2016 7-issue Great Lakes Avengers run. I got the Mike and Laura all red variant cover there for the first one. I also got the Hulk variant cover for the first one. It's by dumb luck, Flatman is told he owns the Avengers name and they want it back. Val, Flatman, tries to get the team back together after it is disbanded. While getting some members back together, they are sent to Detroit, Michigan to do some things that we're going to read the synopsis out the first two here to give you. After accidentally getting the rights to the Avengers name, the Great Lakes Avengers are back in business in Detroit. But Flatman, Big Bertha, and Doorman will be fighting more than economic freefall and overpriced hipster coffee. A supervillain mob is terrorizing the people of Detroit, including the family of a very furry young lady. Can the world's wackiest Avengers put a stop to these dastardly deeds? And that's that cover there. Third issue here. The supervillain mob led by the nasty Nine Rogue is terrorizing Detroit, and Councilman Dick Schnerd isn't lifting a finger to stop them, probably because he is Nine Rouge. Shh, it's a secret. Fortunately, Flatman, Big Bertha, Doorman, and their shape-shifting new recruit, Good Boy, are on the case, but after starting a fight at Nine Rouge's Villain Bar, the Great Lakes Avengers find themselves facing their old arch nemesis, Red Tape. This is fun. It keeps going on with trying to get some of the characters together, and you get to meet a couple new ones in there, like on this cover you've seen. This is Good Boy. It's a young girl who can shapeshift into a male wolf, and she's got a brother. Well, their whole family's basically shapeshifters. Well, can turn into like animal type creatures. But they didn't get the superpowers. They were basically born with it. And her brother is a fox that has two tails. He gets in a bunch of trouble, and they try to get out of town and get away, but then she has already met the Avengers and gets sucked into the group, wants to go back and help them because she sees that Big Bertha's in a lot of trouble. And the councilman ends up being the bad guy, as you just heard. And there's Good Boy with the councilman there.
Is there also like a really fast blue hedgehog that hangs out with that fox with two tails?
No, I didn't
chili
see
dogs?
No.
Are there chili dogs in this comic?
Sonic and Tails. But it's fun. You get they got Squirrel Girl and stuff in here also. It's just ongoing fun, just seeing a different area, a different realm with the characters. And you do get Deadpool swinging on in. It's a really good read if you want a new character lineup, something fun, something funny, someone that's not just out there doing everything perfectly. And you do see a lot of characters come and go throughout these. And there is more because that I will have to get down the road, because they originally started in the West Coast Avengers 46, and I have some old West Coast Avengers, so I was waiting to see if I have any of the issues. And they are also known as the Lightning Rods, which I haven't heard that one yet. I have heard, well, the Great Lakes X-Men and the Great Lakes Initiative. I haven't heard about the Great Lakes Champions, so those two, I'm guessing there's enough storylines that I'll come down the road and find out about those. But yeah,
Kirby.
we'll be watching out for them. Yep.
Is Red Tape a character, or is that just means they have to fight the bureaucracy?
No, Red Tape's a character that
Okay.
they fought in the past, which I'm guessing goes back to the West Coast Avengers days or something. But yeah,
Cool.
it was fun.
Excellent. All right, let's jump over to Dr. Kurt's dad.
All right. Get to leave the Enterprise now. So hard to use these backgrounds.
Now you're back on Earth.
Yes. Spider-Man Noir, number 3. I've been keeping you up to date on Spider-Man Noir. I love the concept of this comic to kind of, give us all the old film noir sort of tropes and ways of approaching things. What's fascinating about number 3 here, and that's why I brought it in, is up till now, whenever we've had Spider-Man Noir comics, we've only seen him as a character, and kind of the Spider-Man villains that have been shaped into the Spider-Man noir sort of understanding of things. So we have Electro here on the cover. That's what Electro looks like in the noir universe. But this issue, we also got Tony Stark came in, who is actually a spy, is a spy with a code name Byron Ironsides. And we mainly get him as, we mainly see him more. In fact, all we see him as is the rich Tony Stark who has all this stuff that he can use to help people get around. We get to see the noir version of Black Widow, who works with them. And this particular set of stories has followed that there was this mystical stone that was found at an archaeological dig that was stolen. A woman comes to Peter Parker, who's a detective in Spider-Man Noir, to get him to help her find the stone. They've been running around the world now trying to catch up with where this stone is at. And in this issue, we're taken to an archaeological dig in Egypt, run by the Nazis. Sound like a familiar storyline from something like Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's what it looks like a lot in this story. And we're taken to that. And then there's this shocker at the end about betrayal and things in the midst of all this. It's all, this just has the feel of film noir stuff, of stuff like the Maltese Falcon and old movies like that, even the feel of things like Raiders of the Lost Ark, that make this a really great comic to read, because they've kind of woven all that into a Spider-Man story. Spider-Man's a very different sort of character in this. Certainly the quippy sort of stuff, except it's all much more film noir quippy rather than the basic Spider-Man New York sort of quippy. And he as a character, as a hero, is different, swinging around, firing his 45s at people, and wearing goggles and a dark mask and a trench coat rather than a red spandex costume. But it's I just love it. I love seeing Spider-Man portrayed in a kind of different environment, and this gives us that in this particular comic. So if you haven't been reading the Spider-Man noir stuff, I think go and get it. It's a fun sort of different look at the Spider-Man character.
Awesome. All right, and if I didn't miss anything, I think we'll wrap up with Kirby with the last one here.
All right, we got Howard Duck Hunt, trade paperback, volume 1. There is volume 0 before this, which I've talked about a couple of the comics already. This one, and the cover here, you got Aunt May, Howard, his new cat, Spidey's there, you got Silver Surfer in the window, and this is Tara, his tattooing sidekick. She now has powers. She can shapeshift herself. And she's got a little X-Men belt and stuff, so she somehow got initiated into the team, which I haven't seen that yet, so I'll have to get into that storyline eventually. But Tara is a shapeshifter now. Howard wants to go home. He feels everyone is out to kill him. He gets an Infinity Gauntlet and Stone-style gift and takes Tara to the swamp for not a case. She thought it was for a case, but he's going there because he wants to while back there apparently this new storyline, instead of getting teleported through space, he got teleported through some type of teleporting device that's in Man-Thing's swamp. And so Howard was going back there to find Man-Thing and see how the portal was and use the portal to get back to his home. And things go awry, and Howard becomes sort of a portal himself by using the gauntlet and the stone, and it makes him into Howard the Living Nexus. There's a female Howard and a female Rocket Raccoon in this one. They're with the Collector, and while they're being experimented on and stuff. And the Collector gets them, and they got tons of other characters, the Collectors that they're feeling bad about and want to help out, and they get away somehow, which I'm not gonna tell all that, and they jump dimensions, go back, do some time travel to get away from people that are chasing after them, because they figure they'll never be able to get away from people constantly trying to hunt them down. And it crosses into the Guardian of the Galaxies, the new Guardian of the Galaxy run. It all crosses over with that, and which I reviewed, which had the Thing and stuff, and the female Star-Lord, which is Kitty Pryde, which I think was like an episode or two ago. I talked about that. All you gotta do is think of where you want to go and touch Howard, and you'll go there. So they kind of, as you can imagine, they help out with the Collector's characters and just break some characters free, tell them to do that and go to where they have to. And crossing over with Dr. Kurt's dad, here's female Howard and female Rocket. And then, as you were talking, multiple heralds for Galactus and stuff. In this one, you have other heralds that appear: Silver Surfer, her,
Nova, Frankie Ray.
yeah. There's them two there. And then, of course, Howard the Duck Surfer there. He gets a little piece of the Silver Surfer and basically turns into his same form and hops on this board and just takes off flying. And it was kind of cool because he gets in the ship and he does the same thing. He's like, hang on, you guys don't have to pilot the ship. He just stands in the middle of the ship and surfs it, and the whole ship just takes off flying like a surfboard, so you can control it. But yeah, and then you're talking about, well, Galactus, how he's an essential part of our planet, that he can't leave, because if he does, everything would just collapse. And yeah, and when Galactus meets Howard in here, he's like, yeah, I can sit there and take Howard and go to a place where I ain't gonna hurt anybody or whatever, and just have tons of planets to devour and not worry about anything. But then the Silver Surfer's trying to stop him, because if you do leave, then it's gonna just destroy our universe. But yeah, this is lots of fun and works its way into those last two comics that I talked about. So it was nice
So
to
what's
have
this one,
that.
Howard the Duck, and what's the...
It's called Duck Hunt, but it's
Okay.
the volume 1 of the trade paperback, and there is a volume 0, which stupidly was there, but I didn't grab it. So this is on the half price rack. But I don't want to go back and get it. But yeah, this is a lot of fun.
Cool. All right, that will do it here for our weekly reviews. We have one final segment, the letters page.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, that was actually a pretty easy one, I think.
All right, we'll kick into it right away here. Welcome to the letters page, everybody. It is the first Saturday of the month, which on this show means it's time for another round of Jacob's birthday battle. And this month he suggested Vampirella versus Buffy Summers. Fight. Who wants to jump in and throw the first punch? Damon, you picked Buffy, so let's go on to the next one.
Oh, no.
What?
There's no way. I am Vampirella all the way. Let's just go through the list. Number 1, she's hotter. Number 2, she's a vampire. Number 3, she's hotter. Number 4, she's like immortal, and she can fly. Number 5, she ain't Sarah Michelle Gellar. Number 7, she's hotter. Number 8, she can fight better. Number 9, she wasn't a stupid TV show. And number 10, she's hotter. Court's adjourned.
Hey, David, you have a mute button on your side, right? You can do that to anybody that's in the club?
I can. Let me just try. Yeah, it works.
I don't even know what I'm saying. Oh. So, anyone else here? I think I'll go. I think Buffy would win because she is a vampire slayer and that's her job and she's very good at it. She's died before and she's come back. She's died, that the death doesn't even stop her. So yeah, I say Buffy wins. Anyone else?
I'm pretty sure that this is just one of those things where they're going to start as a fight thing, and eventually they're just going to team up anyway. So really no winner except perhaps us, the readers or the audience. And that's pretty much it. I think really that one just ends up in a team up where even Anthony and Damon have to enjoy it together.
Vampirella joins a Scooby Gang, huh?
I must say, if they release that as a comic, that would be an issue that I would actually buy. It would be the first, and I'd even have to have Anthony with me so he could take a picture. The one and only time I would buy a Buffy comic.
Well, I'd have to say Vampirella. Basically because Buffy has only fought undead vampires. If you follow the Vampirella continuity, she's not really an undead that Buffy's used to fighting. Actually, there's been about 3 different origins for Vampirella. She comes from another planet. She's from hell and has parents who are demonic, and that she's undead. So who knows? But Buffy hasn't really dealt with anything quite like Vampirella. By the way, Vampirella has come back from the dead a couple times too. And so Buffy hasn't got anything on her on that. And Vampirella has also had some pretty heavy sort of people who have tried to kill her and also have teamed up with her. Betty and Veronica have teamed up with her. Red Sonja has teamed up with her. They probably be brought somehow into this as well. And the Reanimator is lost to her. And Demons of Hell she's been able to kill. So somehow it just seems like when you take all the comic continuity into consideration, Vampirella's probably got a advantage over Buffy Summers.
But has Vampirella ever also had to work a double shift at the Double Meat Palace? I mean,
maybe not at the Double Meat Palace. I think she has had to work at some strange jobs in the past.
Anyone else?
I know nothing about Vampirella except what she looks like. And in that case, Damon is correct.
Yeah.
Well, they've both come back from the dead. Have either of them come back from the undead?
Well, they did switch the origin of Vampirella from being undead to something else. So I guess at that point she came back.
Buffy has an army of Buffy bots too, so just when Vampirella thinks she won, turns out it was a Buffy bot the whole time. And the real Buffy's just off dancing at the bronze. Katie?
Well, I'm with Shelley. I think we should have them team up and be friends, and then they could fight Red Sonja and Mars Attacks. So Dynamite, go make that comic and send me a check. But if we think just in terms of like a real world, Vampirella's been around longer in our world than Buffy has, so maybe that would give her a slight advantage, just because she's a more legacy character. But, honestly, I just want them to respectfully settle their differences and then go kick some Mars butts.
Straight from the Buffy bot's mouth. There it is.
Yeah, Vampirella's got this one. Team up wise, I can't really say. Would be a good idea because Vampirella really hates other people. Unless you're a guy, a big hulking ugly guy or something like that, like from Hack and Slash, she's not really fond of too many other people. She exerts super strength. When facing her opponent, she can move so fast that she appears as a blur of motion. Her senses are far beyond those of humans, allowing her to tell one's emotional state through their scent. She can hear things imperceptible to humans. She can see clearly in total darkness. Her athletic skills, her stamina, her reflexes. She has great resilience and allows her to heal rapidly from her wounds and makes her immune to earthly illnesses and toxins. I could go on and on.
Plus, yeah, he could go on for as long as it gives
she
him.
Can go flying. She could. She's been literally. I've only seen her once where she's been brought right to the brink of actual death, where she was worried she wasn't going to come back from it, but she can heal pretty quick. So.
All right. Well, everyone's heard it.
One time she faced off with Buffy.
And she's not a high schooler.
Yeah, so based on all of our answers, looks like we all agree that Buffy won that match. So thank you, Jacob. Which
Slightly
I got
biased
to say, by the way, I do got to say, obviously I have no grudge with any of you for your answers. It is with Jacob for even bringing this up in the first place. And where's he?
Every week will be Buffy versus someone.
Yeah, you should. When Jacob poses these things, Jacob ought to give us his answer.
Right, Jacob, if you're listening or watching, you've been called out. Next month will be the Crimson Cowl Comic Club versus Jacob. Who wins?
Oh, Buffy.
He'll win because he's not here.
All right, well, that is going to do it for this week. And next week on the show, we're going to have a club discussion for the final issue of the Black Label series, Wonder Woman Dead Earth, issue number 4. And I think the following week, as long as people have them, I know Batman Adventures number 3?
Yeah.
One of those. I think that's on the horizon as well. So that's what you can look forward to, as well as more weekly reviews and fun letters page suggestions. So on that note, this entire time, I couldn't wait to make Bruce Banner a new pair of yoga pants.
I'm Team Vampirella.
I'm a parody of a parody of a parody.
Be happy. Eat more nuts.
This is the Enterprise signing off.
I am a Dalek.
Gooby Gang for the win!
To be continued.